The coronavirus pandemic hit many families hard. In an attempt to make ends meet, thousands turned to crowdfunding on sites like GoFundMe for help. A new article by CBS Moneywatch cites research showing for most, crowdfunding did not work out. A study in the Journal of Social Science and Medicine found most Americans who looked to the internet for financial help did not raise much. For more on this, I want to bring in Irina Ivanova. She's a reporter for CBS Moneywatch. Irina, welcome. Great to see you. So the coronavirus pandemic, as we know, hit low-income families the hardest. So one might expect that the most successful GoFundMe campaigns came from poorer parts of the U.S., but the research did not bear that out. Where were these campaigns most successful?
Thanks for having me, Tanya. So this research looked at 175,000 campaigns just in the first half of last year that mentioned COVID in some way. And they looked at the characteristics of their location. And what they found was that the places with higher income and places with more education started more campaigns than poorer places and places with less education. Campaigns started in wealthier places also had more donations overall and raised more money. And so the biggest predictor of the success of a crowdfunding campaign here is not necessarily how much the intended recipient needs the money, how hard up they are, but it depends on the location where the campaign is started. And the other really striking finding in this research is just how few campaigns succeeded. The researchers found that more than 9 in 10 of campaigns they looked at did not reach their funding goal that they set. 4 in 10 campaigns had no donations at all. And the typical campaign, the average, raised just about $65.
And sort of counterintuitively as well, you looked at even the language, or the research looked at even the language in these campaigns and sort of the simpler language, words like laid off or rent. You know, the percentage of those campaigns that were successful was far less than when you looked at campaigns that had words like PPE and, you know, sort of more technical and difficult words in it. And did that suggest then the higher sort of the perceived education level of the campaign sort of initiators, the more successful the campaigns were?
I think that just speaks to the broader idea of crowdfunding. You know, it's not really supposed to be a way to get people their basic needs. In many ways, these are really just marketing campaigns, except they're for something else. You know, these are people who are raising money for whatever they need, and they're competing with each other. So you do see that certain things can go really viral. Certain campaigns tend to really take off, and others, you know, if they're maybe more boring, if they aren't connected to the right social networks, you know, if they don't capture the imagination quite that much, they get nothing.
Right, and that network seemed to be a key piece of it. Was there a difference between people who initiated their own campaigns saying, I need this help, versus campaigns that were initiated on behalf of other people?
So that's a great question, Tanya. And, you know, GoFundMe does point out that actually most of the campaigns on the platform are not run by people fundraising for themselves. Most of them are started on behalf of other people. That does make it a little trickier to track who is actually getting this money. There's actually no really reliable way to track who is getting funds. But, you know, I spoke with 2 of the researchers on this paper, Mark Giger and Nora Kenworthy from the University of Washington, you know, and they point out that given what we know about social networks, you know, we are an incredibly unequal society, and we're a pretty economically segregated society. So the people who I know tend to resemble me in income and education. You know, poor people tend to know other poor people who have less resources to help them. And so if you look at that, and then you look at somebody who's fallen on hard times, who already came from a worse off situation, who's trying to then tap their own social network for help, they're just going to be less successful. And I should point out, it's not just crowdfunding, you know, it's charitable giving overall. We found that this type of giving tends to just reinforce existing social inequalities rather than change them.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the research also found that, you know, when you looked at campaigns that sort of were able to breach the sort of socioeconomic barriers that tended to be, let's say, you know, workers at a country club who had a network of wealthier patrons who could spread it around, or, people at a popular restaurant, they could sort of breach those socioeconomic levels because they had patrons who were very well connected in sort of wealthier circles.
That's exactly right. There are a few examples of these very viral and very successful campaigns. Some of them raised over $1 million, but in many cases they were wealthier people. They were well-connected people who were trying to, raise funds for people who served them or people who whose labor they benefited from in these particular circumstances.
So in the end, what is this research pointing out? Like, what is the biggest reason that most of these, crowdfunding campaigns did not work out? And what do you think it tells you about people's needs, about people's sort of basic needs?
Yeah, I asked two of these researchers how you would fix these inequalities in crowdfunding, and their answer was basically, the way to fix inequality is to make sure, people don't have to crowdfund to put food on the table. And GoFundMe, to their credit, has been very vocal about this. Their CEO has urged Congress to pass COVID relief funding, and he said the company wasn't intended to pay for basic needs. He's, dreaming of the day when people are back to using the platform for, to raise funds for Little League. But I think the fact that we're still, a year and a half after the pandemic started, we're still seeing so many campaigns for basic needs, food, rent, and medical costs, just shows how many people are still vulnerable. We have had strong job creation. The economy is recovering. At the same time, there are still millions of people who can't get a job that will pay them a living wage. People owe billions in back rent. There are people who can't work because they're caring for children or for parents. One of the people I spoke with for this piece, he's a 28-year-old caretaker for his two disabled parents, and they're living in a hotel because they lost their home right before the pandemic began. And so he feels kind of stuck. He's looked for housing and social services, but because of the way his particular family is structured, they don't qualify for a lot of aid. So he's really looking to GoFundMe as sort of his last best chance to get some relief. And I think the fact that so many people are still turning to crowdfunding just shows how many people are still struggling.
Absolutely. Well, Irina Ivanova, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Tanya. Great to be with you.